Hello, welcome back to TSC Talks, the podcast where we talk about tuberous sclerosis complex and other related issues, such as intellectual and developmental disabilities and autism. My name is Jill Woodworth, and I am your host. Thanks so much for tuning in again. We are on part 2 with Cecilia Pratt. You heard her yesterday. I'm going to drop this episode today. She's going to get a little bit more into detail with coping mechanisms, how she deals with the stress, being successful with some weight loss, managing a food addiction. She dives into challenging behaviors, TAND behaviors, tuberous sclerosis associated neuropsychiatric behaviors. I feel like I need to continually spell that out, so we drill that into people's heads, that TAND is the behavioral aspect of TSC. Anyway, she talks about getting counseling and feeling completely overwhelmed and burned out, doing everything and having everything on her shoulders, getting advice from well-meaning people, friends and family, and feeling really discouraged because truly it requires a 24/7 immersion in the TSC experience to understand how and why it's so complicated at every level. Challenges with Social Security. One thing she mentions is her son is African American and being concerned about that with his behavior as he grows up, something I never thought about. Pharmacy issues, and it just really being challenging about 80% of the time. She chooses to dwell on the positive. She does have family support, and I just really appreciate her bringing up almost every single issue and challenge that TSC can bring to a family, and I hope that this is helpful and you feel validated if you're out there struggling and you learn something, and I really appreciate Celia being on. So without further ado, going to stop talking and take it away again, Cecilia. Yeah, so you feel like you have support like in the family, or tell me how you cope.
So like I said, for my coping is now that I try to go to the gym.
Yeah. Oh, good.
So
well, not good or bad. It's just, if that works for you, I'm applauding.
Yeah. I lost about 50 pounds now.
Nice.
Yeah, just my health thing. I just realized when you go through the depression and anxiety and then, just on yourself.
Yes.
And then everything else that surrounds you, it became a food addiction.
Yep. Oh, Thanks for sharing that, because that's.
And especially, with my stomach diagnosis and everything, and all these years, just every year, doing this and constantly this and
you're just you're coping. It has to be labeled as this or that, but you're kind of staying alive. You're coping and.
Right. So it became just a food addiction, and it was to the point, when I was pregnant with my middle child, I had lost. Well, he was the only one where I had the pre-diabetes.
Oh, okay. Gestational?
Yeah. Yeah. So I was already pre-diabetic as it was because I kept the weight off. I had lost 75 pounds with him when I was pregnant with him. Wow. So I lost 75 pounds in 6 months when I was pregnant.
Wow.
But, he didn't have the diabetes. They tested him. He was fine. And when I got pregnant with my daughter afterwards, I still didn't have the diabetes. But
yeah. I
got food addiction again. It was like, okay, I went through, then there was like, stuff personally that was happening within, I think 2017 was one of my hardest years. I had a lot of family disagreements, a lot of just things that friends that were falling out, a lot of stuff that was hitting me to my core where I felt like I wasn't worthy. As a mom, I just was, my mind it wasn't suicidal or anything. It was just,
it's despair. I don't think you have to live there, but I think at some point you got to walk through that a little bit and come out the other side, I guess. My heart breaks a little bit. Yeah. Cause I think I go through it sometimes still, when something happens, if I get thrown off, it's just hard.
Yeah,
and I think,
it was hard. I was crying every day. Just, it was very hard.
You're going through a lot of really crazy stuff that there's no clear path. You're kind of forging your own way, and you got the education system, the mental health system, the medical system, and, then your personal life, and really.
Yeah. And then you had friends that you think they're friends, and to a certain point, and then you feel almost discouraged because you have friends or you see family that's doing accomplishments
anything
for
normal.
themselves. Yeah. And it almost
I can
like,
drive by and see a family having ice cream and be mad.
yeah. Yeah. And it's just, it almost made me feel like I wasn't doing the best because it's like, well,
all
what
the
are you
judgment
doing?
and shade.
Yeah, like you don't
I
have
know.
a career. You're just a mom. You shouldn't just be a mom. You should be able to get out and leave your kids, and you should be able to do this.
They want to
should
put you in a box, and there is no box that's going to work because it's
I'm like,
something different.
well, and I'm like, this is my anxiety. I can take people's suggestions, but I think people, like I was being judged for not taking, they said you didn't take criticism well. You didn't take suggestions well. Okay, well, I took it in my own way. Didn't mean that I didn't hear you. I just, at that moment.
Well, how would anybody give you suggestions when they haven't spent, that's my issue even with sometimes recommendations is spend a few days living with this 24/7 and then come back and make a suggestion.
Right. It's like,
shut up
to me. It could be about anything. It's like, okay, but then I had to be more open-minded about
right.
it.
No, I know. I feel like I have been really hard on people sometimes and push people away because, I'm just expecting too much maybe.
Right.
And
no, I mean, I feel there's a lot of things in my mind that I feel, and I feel like, okay, and then you can hear somebody, but nobody's really lived in your shoes to fully understand from, my personal experience with TSC or my personal experience, just me in general in life with
as a human being, right? Beyond the TSC.
Exactly. And I have a lot of that. And then it became because I felt like, because I didn't get to go to college and get a college degree,
there's always
people.
And you're waiting for them to judge you.
Yeah. And I'm just like, you know what? This is me. This is the path that I'm in.
Yep.
Doesn't make me less of a person.
No way.
And, this is the circumstance. This is what it is. And, then we just move forward and stuff. So like I said, I went through a bad thing.
Yep.
So my coping thing, back to the coping thing is like, I've been going to the gym. I try to get out the house.
I'm happy to hear that.
That's pretty much my coping.
That's about all I do. I go for a run and I got to do it. And that's kind of like my anchor and it helps me.
Yeah. I love makeup. So I'm constantly.
Yeah. So you have some stuff that you enjoy.
Just stuff that I do, makeup that I was in a process of writing a book. I had put that on hold.
What I'd say is, and that your instincts are really good and you're right on the money. And I spent a lot of time coming around to this. So that's really great, And I think the interplay of like my personal issues in with the TSC I've kind of come to the understanding of how that like made it more complicated. So again, talking about it, it's like, you've got to kind of be stable.
Right.
But how can you be all the time? You've got to also be able to go off the rails a little bit.
Exactly.
So.
That's true. Yeah. I mean, that's just my coping.
I think I love that. I love it. I love to hear about people exercising, and not that I think people have to do that, but that's worked for me. So let's see. What do you wish you'd known? Well, we kind of cut when you started on this journey. So, looking back, I think you've talked a little bit about like getting that diagnosis and not lack of kind of compassion or, not really many resources.
Right.
Were shared, but tell me kind of what you have wished you'd known and what you want or what you'd like to see.
So for me, I mean, I wish I knew in the beginning, like how everything, was.
What's your vision kind of? Do you have like for your son? I mean, as much as possible, you have a plan, but no, it's okay to say that. Cause I really don't. I don't know.
I just go through the motions. I just go, I mean, I will. So my thing is, I will hope when he becomes an adult that, because my son's diagnosis and his biological father's diagnosis is different.
Okay.
So my ex-husband doesn't have like the seizures.
Right. So he manifests differently.
Yeah, it's different. They do have like the same behavioral. So when they get very upset, they look like twins. So everything else is like, okay, well, it's just.
You kind of go day to day.
I'm going day to day because every day it changes with him.
Yep.
Every day it changes. But like I said, when he becomes an adult, I just hope that at that time, I would really hope they would have a cure for this. I mean, that's my dream.
Well, I think like doctors like Dr. Gibson have the MD or PhD or whatnot.
Yeah.
the ones that actually are giving some credence to the behavioral aspects, that's really the best because they can support the whole kid because they have the credibility. Yes. Unfortunately, we don't as parents yet, but because you know a lot. Right. You have to learn a lot. You have to learn a lot about a lot of different stuff. And
yeah, and it helps with the doctors. I mean, he has Dr. Gibson. Now he has Dr. Harris because Dr. Gibson had to transfer to, I think she moved to.
Oh, right. She's in the Midwest.
Yeah, she's, I think, Mississippi now or somewhere.
So how's that?
Dr. Harris is good. It's just hard because I feel comfortable with Dr. Harris. Dominic feels comfortable with her, but the connection was different with Dr. Gibson.
Yeah, I can't imagine if I had to not see Dr.
It was very hard. Well, because Dr. Gibson and Dr. Harris, like they're very both, compassionate, very sweet. But Dr. Gibson was very more hands-on. Like she'll hug you, and she was a little bit more personal.
Okay.
A little bit more personal and hug you. And the only time I get to see her is when we do the TSC walks.
Oh, okay.
So that's
great.
She comes out.
And so you're involved in some of the TS Alliance stuff, or you're?
Oh yeah.
Oh, good.
I pretty much try to follow like everything at TSC. I tried to do my research. I do the walk. I was communicating with a family that had TSC, but they ended up moving back to Atlanta. So we didn't really get to, it was hard because that family, we only got to meet once and we had like conversations through like emails and stuff.
Yep.
But they had to move away. So that was very hard.
The TSC connections have changed over the years. So yeah. And I think that having the boards and stuff is really great, but it's nice to be able to have people around every now and then.
Yeah. So, but I mean, the doctors are good. So, but like I said, everything's day to day.
Yep.
And that's all I can do is day to day because
I think that's a very honest picture of exactly how it is. Really. Yeah. I mean, for a lot of people.
And I think you have to, especially if you have anxiety.
You kind of got to minimize the chances of that being triggered, I find.
Yeah. I mean, and especially with like behavioral therapy for myself, I would cry in the sessions.
Yeah.
I imagine. I would all like, cause she would do, when me and my husband and the kids would all go. And so then I would have like 5 or 10 minutes to myself with her or my husband being there. And I just bawled because I just feel like,
oh yeah,
I'm doing this. We're in behavioral therapy. I did this and I did that. And I'm doing this with the school, and to the point where I felt burned out.
You're not alone. You're not alone.
And that's what she would say. She's like, you're not alone. You're
good
a parent. But because I guess you don't physically see it in front of you with other parents. And then, not having like the family and a lot of friends are constantly here with you. It's like everything is on your shoulders.
Yeah. You also are carrying around like huge files of important information in your head that no one else has. Yeah. And it doesn't make you special or unique, but it's a life-saving thing. Yeah. Who've got other things.
Right. And I think when other parents come in, especially when you have parents that don't, yes, they deal with regular, what kids do and what mommies do and everything. But when you're a parent that doesn't have a child with a disability and they try to tell you what you should do or not do or how to do it, or they tell other people this and this and this, it's like, how dare you?
Yeah, that's tough. And that's why sometimes, I just don't even try because I don't want to have to be a bitch all the time.
Right.
I don't.
Exactly.
But I'm going to be because I've had enough.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Okay.
And then I feel bad because, they don't mean it a lot of times. And, I think it's good to be willing to talk to other parents because you have a lot of experience and especially with the behaviors and stuff and kind of can validate.
Right. Because my son has a TSC too.
Yes. So do my kids. Yep.
Yeah. So he has the 2. He has the facial
angiofibromas. Now, have they tried any of the mTOR, the sirolimus or Rapamune?
They did. They tried giving him the creams and stuff. It wasn't working.
Okay.
I mean, they tell him to go to dermatologists and stuff. I haven't taken him back yet.
It's just another appointment.
It's just another appointment. He has to go see the eye doctor again for the eyes and it's like, okay, what appointment does he have? And then on top of it, just that stuff, then it's like he goes to the dentist and